what I've learned in my experience of it, and I've learned this from Yo Elliott, to be quite honest with you.
Good.
He said, even if you're teaching the same thing someone else is teaching, your story is different.
Yes.
So your story is going to attract someone to want to listen to what you have to say more than someone else.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, we need more people that are helping the world on the internet, because we have a lot of people who are taking advantage of the internet that don't have the amount of knowledge that most of the people that are listening to this podcast do.
I was just curious what your soul path and personality path were. And the hermit is really someone that comes to the world to devote themselves to mastery. And once they've achieved it, then their function is to make sure everybody in the world benefits from their hard journey into mastery. I'm curious, where do you feel the desire to help other people that's so strong in you comes from?
I think two things. I think number one, I felt like I was born with it, to be honest with you. It was just natural. Like I was literally born with it. Like I came into this world just ready to want to help people. Number two, I think witnessing so much pain at a young age and, realizing the pain that, that my parents were going through, even though some of it had, when my mom came out in anger, when my dad, it came out with just, overworking on, on the streets trying to make a living. And then the pain that I saw in my friends' eyes for not, being able to have money to get the things they wanted, or me to get food I wanted. My number one goal was, how can I help a person feel better? Because I feel like I have a high tolerance for pain.
Yeah.
And it felt like, I say this a lot to myself. I felt like I've been here so many times before.
You probably have. I know I sure as hell have. And I've said to my soul, I need a long rest after this trip.
Yeah.
So don't even try it.
Yeah.
I'm not coming back for a while.
Yeah, I feel like I've done this so many times that when I see someone else scared, I'm not scared. Or if I see someone hurting, I'm not hurt. I can handle it. I want to guide them on and teach them on how to deal with it. And I always felt like that since I was a kid. It feels like I'm 29, but I feel like I'm 70.
Yeah.
Because of the life that I lived. So I think it comes from wanting to see people see the good side. I train my mind to, when negative things come, to train my mind to look for positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more that we lean on to those negative things, the more that we start to bring more negativity to our reality, right? We manifest it. So I think from deep down inside, two things. I just think that I was born with it. And number two, I saw what pain looks like, and I understand it, and I want the opposite for others. Even though I know pain is a teacher for a lot of people, if it brings my heart joy seeing someone else happy.
The other thing, too, is if you haven't learned this, you will. You can't take people's pain away from them. You can teach them how to take their pain away. Like as a therapist, you come to me with a back injury or a neck injury, I can take your pain away, but if you don't do the things that I teach you to do so that your pain doesn't keep coming back, then I just become your next favorite drug, which means now I have a codependent relationship with you and I'm not being a therapist anymore. I'm a rent-a-friend. Or I'm an expensive analgesic. So, our job as therapists, coaches, and healthcare providers isn't to take people's pain away. It's to help them recognize what choices they made, which are the products of the beliefs they had or the fears they had that led to the behaviors that ultimately created the pain. So, it's always lovely to help people get rid of their pain, but when you've been a therapist as long as I have and you start seeing how getting rid of people's pain can become a limitation to them doing the work to get rid of their own pain, I got to the point where my rule as a therapist, I won't do anything for a client that they can do for themselves. If they can't mobilize their own spine, which is a technical skill, I will do that. But if I can show them how to do that at home, I'm going to teach them how to do it. So, because people get addicted to having their pain taken away by any means, and I don't want to be anyone's addiction, and I went through years of experiencing what that's like, professional athletes, for example, buying up 6 months of time from me in advance and saying, never give my spot away, because they wanted me to take their pain away, right? And so what happened was I would have all this space that was all bought up. They would miss half their appointments, but I wouldn't be able to fill the spot with someone that really did need my help. And there's just one of many examples I could give. You spent a fair bit of time studying myriads of my videos. You're now in HLC 3, which is our highest level of holistic lifestyle coaching. I'm just curious if you could synthesize what the core message of my teachings is. If you had to distill it down to maybe one sentence, what would you say it ultimately means to be a CHEK professional? What is the core teaching?
Wow, that's a challenge because it's a lot, but I'll tell you what I feel. It taught me on how to know myself, how to take care of myself, and how to navigate myself.
Perfect.
That's exactly what it did. So even though there were times in my life I kind of knew myself, there was times where I didn't know how to navigate, right? My mind not, being as attentive to my work because of attention disorder or anger issues or my weight or my skin. So then when I put all my attention there, then I start losing who I am myself.
Yeah.
The CHEK Institute has taught me the principles on how to keep everything aligned.
Yeah, good.
So I can continue to go on my journey in a balanced way and get where I want to get to.
I feel like I've done my life's work. I can die now. Except I got little kids that need to be taught everything Nate has learned. And it is fun. I love my kids. They're just beautiful. You've had a very powerful relationship with the internet and, using video. How important do you feel the internet is today for all forms of healthcare providers, from psychologists to everybody that has something to share with the public, especially because, a lot of CHEK professionals got themselves in big trouble financially when the lockdowns came because they were too insecure or not creative enough to reinvent themselves in ways that they could support people while in a lockdown situation. But then there was other ones that said, oh, well, I'm just going to keep coaching my clients, and ended up having a great time and continued to help people and didn't lose money and didn't, have the kind of problems that those that gave up on themselves and didn't reinvent themselves had. So I'm just curious, how important do you feel the internet is, not only for you, but for all of us that are trying to make changes in the world at this time?
I think it's extremely important. I would have never been here sitting talking to you if you didn't use the internet, right?
Right. That's true. Thank you.
So I got availability to your work because of the internet. So, I come to the HLC, when I came to HLC 2 and 3, I did witness a lot of, the students that became good friends of mine go through this struggle, because I went through HLC 2 during COVID.
Right.
And I witnessed a lot of my peers struggling. And remember, I told you I was in a circle and I'm talking to all of them during HLC 2. I think a lot of it has to do with insecurities. One of the biggest things that I see is that some of us put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to be extremely smart and extremely 100% correct on everything that we do, that pressure stops a person from actually making a video and helping somebody. It's important because what I've learned in my experience of it, and I've learned this from Yo Elliott, to be quite honest with you.
Good.
He said, even if you're teaching the same thing someone else is teaching, your story is different.
Yes.
So your story is going to attract someone to want to listen to what you have to say more than someone else.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, we need more people that are helping the world on the internet, because we have a lot of people who are taking advantage of the internet that don't have the amount of knowledge that most of the people that are listening to this podcast do. So either way, the internet gets to people, if you like it or not, and it helps more people. So as I'm sitting here talking to you and you're talking to me, someone's listening to one of the other podcast episodes, right?
Yeah.
And someone's watching one of your videos. Same thing here. We're helping more people while we're here talking to each other. So we're everywhere and nowhere at the same time, right? Or one place at the same time. So I think the internet's extremely important, and I won't be here today where I am with you, but I won't be as successful as I became in the last couple of years of my life without the internet.
Yeah.
So I think if someone's out there listening and you're hesitant on getting on the internet, there's only one of you ever, right? And the way you talk, the way you walk, your story it can have an impact on someone else without you even knowing. So the information that you have, a lot of people won't want to give information because they think they need to know everything. You can help someone that doesn't know as much as you know.
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect, you know?
I'll give you an example of a situation that came up in one of my classes. I mean, it's come up many times, but this one sticks out in my mind. I was teaching HLC 3, and I said, how many of you have experience? And nobody's hand went up. I said, well, you're in my advanced class. I mean, how can you be taking an advanced class if you don't have any experience? And they unanimously said, we all don't think we know enough to start working with clients yet. And I said, well, you got to understand something. You can help anybody that you know more than, and if you are already even an HLC 1, you know more than 98% of the world population.
Yes.
So, and you don't ever know anything until you practice it. I always say knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So one of the people that happened to raise their hands when I started questioning, why are you not practicing, was a person who was, a bit overweight. And I said to them, why are you not practicing? They said, well, I'm still too fat. And I said, well, I've got a question for you. When you started HLC 1, how much did you weigh? And they said it was almost 400 pounds. And I said, how much do you weigh now? And they'd lost like 160 pounds or something. I mean, a huge amount of weight. I can't remember the exact number, but a huge amount. And they were maybe 40 pounds from their target. I said, how many people in the world weigh more than you right now? Well, millions. Millions. I said, so you can show them where you were at. You can show them where you're at now, and you can tell them about where you're going and take them on the journey for you, because of the millions of people that weigh more than you, I bet you a lot of them would absolutely love to be where you're at right now, and you've already proven you can get there.
Exactly.
So I said, don't ever let me see you again unless you're practicing. Do not take another class.
Yeah.
Go practice.
Yeah.